Welcome to Just Off Harbor. This is our episode all about hotels. This is a question that we get a lot from our listeners, our followers. Everyone wants to know what hotel to book, and the reason why is because it is the most expensive part of your trip, typically, and it is the most important aspect of having a good experience at Disneyland, other than being in Disneyland.
100%. A lot of people like to just be like, oh, well, you're just sleeping there. You know, it doesn't really have to be that great. And, you know, everybody's got a different opinion. But
I mean, and it is true. You are just sleeping there. But in order to sleep there, you have to get there. And that's the big thing that is always kind of our I think if you were to prioritize in our brains the most important aspects of hotel decision making, it starts first with location, because that is the thing that's going to make or break your trip.
And maybe not even necessarily location, but your ability to get to the park. Your party's ability to transport themselves there. So a lot of time that does mean location. It means being close. If you've got a different demographic or an ability, or if you're driving or different things, then your location can be farther.
That's
But
true.
you need the ability to transport your group from point A to point B without all of the regret.
So we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down for you. There's a few different types of families or travel groups that we see really often. The first is families with small children. That's got to be our number one group of people that are wondering where the heck to go. And for those people, you're going to have we're going to have different suggestions for that group of people than we are someone with teenagers, than we are someone with elderly people, than we are someone that's just like on a couples or an adult trip of some kind. So knowing your demographic, your family's needs, whether you need scooters, strollers, how far your family is willing to walk, how far your senior citizens are capable of walking, all of those things play a role. So we're going to go over some of those categories and kind of give you our best tips based on those people on where we would recommend.
So Disneyland, if you've been to Disney World and not Disneyland, Disney World is very much you want to stay on property. That's how you're going to have the really good transportation back and forth, all of that. Disneyland, staying on property doesn't always mean being the closest. There are a ton of hotels all along Harbor Boulevard across the street from Disneyland that are just as close as being on property. So definitely keep that in mind. There's multiple ways to get to the park. The number one way people are going to get to the park is walking. So plan to hoof it.
Bring your walking shoes.
This is the prime way to get there if you have strollers, if you have scooters, anything that you don't want to be like folding up and transporting. Walking is going to be the easiest way for you to get in. So if those sorts of things are part of your party, you want to be within a close walking distance.
Yeah. Walking, it's funny because usually you'd say like walking somewhere seems like the last choice of thing you want to pick over other transportation. Like you said, at Disney World, you couldn't walk to the different Disney World locations, but Disneyland, you literally walk off of a city street and into the park. Like it is not deep within some large, whatever. You're there in the middle of it. So Harbor Boulevard, we've basically got the run of harbor hotels from the Howard Johnson Anaheim down to the Anaheim Hotel. That's what we consider like prime hotel real estate if you need strollers or scooters. That's the number one spot. And that's going to include Howard Johnson Anaheim, Courtyard Marriott, Fairfield Marriott, Camelot Inn and Suites, Tropicana Inn and Suites. Then you got two Best Western locations. The Del Sol is there. And then you have Grand Legacy and Anaheim Hotel. Those are like the 10-ish properties along that run. So you heard it here first. Not really, but those are the ones that if you have kids or scooters are your goal.
Especially if you are somebody who wants a break in the middle of the day. You can be a little farther if you're just walking in the morning and then at night. But just in general, the websites will say like it's just a 10 or 15 minute walk from Disneyland, and maybe it is in the morning when you're excited and have a lot of energy and your kids are skipping to the park. On the way home, that baby's a 20 to 25-minute walk.
Yep.
It just is.
Right. And realistically, even at a 15-minute walk, especially if you're going to take a break in the middle of the day, that's an hour of your day just getting to and from the park. You know, like if you're considering
That adds up.
Yeah, like half an hour in the morning, or half an hour morning and break, half an hour back in and back home. And that time is park time, which is valuable. It's like steps that you're taking that could be used in the park while you still have energy. So I always feel like I like to look at the costs of the hotels and really ask myself, once you get into those like more outskirt hotels, like, would I pay? It's kind of like in our Genie Plus episode where we're saying, like, would you pay $3 to wait in this, or to not wait in this hour-long line? Would you pay an extra $20 a night, $30 a night, whatever, to not have to walk 20 minutes each way?
Or to get on a bus or two, which
Yeah.
would be the second form of transportation that most people take, is either the Toy Story shuttle, which is a free service from Disneyland. There's a Toy Story parking lot that's over, you can Google it on the maps. There's a lot of Google on it on the maps. Wow. Google Maps. There's several hotels right around that parking lot that are great because you can just go in and ride that free bus into Disneyland. There's also the Art Bus, which is the local Anaheim regional transportation. It is about $6 a person per day to go in and out. There's buses running all day long, but a lot of people will come in and out on that. But just remember, on a bus, you have to fold down strollers. You can't necessarily take scooters. So it's an option, but it's maybe, again, taking a little bit more time, waiting for the bus, getting on the bus, riding it all the way around on its route, then getting to the park. So it's not a terrible thing, but it is something to consider.
Yeah, I just feel like, and it's hard because I feel like the more I go, the more fussy I get about this, because I see how much benefit there is to not have to go through all that rigmarole. But also, as a first timer, I feel like that feels so much more overwhelming than just being able to walk. I mean, it is more overwhelming than walking out your door and walking right to Disneyland. That's 5 minutes away. So,
well, say you have a family of 4. That's $24 a day in bus fee. Is your hotel $24 a night more? $50 a night more? What are you paying more to be closer? Just
right.
all things to
well,
to
the
map
same
it.
goes for things like cars. Like, let's say you're like, we'll stay in Orange, which is the city next to Anaheim. We'll stay in Orange, but we'll rent a car and we'll just drive in. Well, okay, you're saving on Uber costs and maybe your hotel is cheaper, but you've rented a car or you brought a car, but you're paying to park it there. You're paying to park it in Disneyland at the parking lot structure. And then you're, again, folding your strollers down to get on a tram and ride into Disneyland. So yeah, maybe staying at the hotel in Orange is even $50 or $100 a night cheaper. By the time you calculate in all your efforts and the cost of the different parking scenarios and whatever, how much different is it really? And this comes back again to my mantra, which is like, just don't take the trip yet. Like for me, if these kinds of things are so handicapping your budget that you have to stay at the place that's kind of really complicated to get into the park on, just like save up a little bit more, take a little bit longer before you take that trip, because your experience will be so much better.
Well, especially if it is your once in a lifetime trip. If you go pretty regularly and you're only going for a couple days, sure.
Yeah.
Go for it.
And you have a lay of the land. You're sort of, it's kind of the whole thing we talk about, like consenting to the thing. Like you want to feel like you have some sort of amount of ability to agree to the terms of the thing you're doing. And there's just no way to really like understand what a hotel 20 minutes away is at Disneyland until you do it. And as long as you know that that's what you're doing, then fine. You've made a decision. But I feel like that's not for me.
So the third way to get in and out is by car. Like we were mentioning, you do need to pay for parking at your hotel. You need to pay for parking at the at Disneyland. folding down your strollers, all of that. It's definitely a legitimate way to go in and out, but that's one option. And then the fourth option would be rideshare or Uber, which we would only suggest for if you've got a group of 4 or less people, because you can use the small Uber hop in and out cars. If you don't have car seats, you don't have strollers. This is like quick in and out. And honestly, mostly going in. If you're trying to Uber home, if you're relying on Ubering back to your hotel at 10 o'clock at night after the fireworks with everybody else, you're going to be waiting an hour for that Uber to show up.
Yep.
It's just a journey.
Yeah, it is. And if that happens, actually, if you do find yourself wanting to leave in an Uber at kind of a weird time of night, consider if you could exit out by the Disneyland Hotel or the Grand Californian, like have your pickup be at one of those locations instead of at the like rideshare Uber pickup, because that place gets so slammed. And sometimes going to the Grand Californian or taking the monorail over to the Disneyland Hotel or something can save you time. It won't save your feet, but it'll save you time.
You can also walk across the street to a lot of the harbor hotels and have them pick up from a hotel instead of from the Uber drop off. Like walk over to the Anaheim hotel. It's a little bit farther away, and have the Uber pick you up there and then go farther.
Get yourself out of that congested
away
area.
from there.
Yeah. So anyway, all things to consider. But again, relying on Uber is a choice, but it comes with its own consequences, which is why I always come back to, if I can walk it, I prefer that route because it's up to me. It's my own 2 feet. Nothing's in the way, no transportation, no Uber, no whatever. So, and obviously not every scenario works for every family dynamic. And that's why we want to go over some of these hotel options with you, because we were counting this up the other day. How many did you decide we had stayed at and or toured in the last year in Anaheim?
About 25 area hotels in the last year that we have either slept our little heads on for a night or walked through, was able
taking
to
pictures in the rooms,
eat in at their restaurants, different things like that, spent time on the properties, have done the walks, have seen how far they are, all of those sorts of things. About 25 hotels. So this is something that we really are passionate about and we feel like is important, and really can affect your stay.
Okay, so if I am a family of 6, I have 2 adults, 3 kids, and a baby, and I need a double stroller and a crib. Where are you sending me?
Close by. No, there are a few hotels nearby that have family suites. Anytime you're looking up and it says suite, you can usually expect that you at least have your 2 queen beds and a pull-out or a sleeper sofa. Most hotel rooms will sleep, if they say suite, 5 to 6 people. A lot of them have cribs and options that way. Our favorite, the very, very closest suite, I would say, is probably at the Camelot.
Yeah, I would think so. But I think even, and I gave you kind of a hard number because 6 people, especially with small kids, is sort of like a borderline space. Because if you call ahead and you say to the Camelot, I need a room with a pull-out bed and I need a crib, there's your 6 people right there. That's how we usually function, is in a non-suite. But we're getting to the point where our kids are big and it's almost impossible now. But at that point, you've got 2 queen beds, a pull-out chair of some kind, and a crib, and that will house your 6 people.
Yeah. Let's change it from the baby and make it, you've got 2 adults and 4 kids that you can't put that kid in a crib.
And at that point, you need the suite. Yeah.
6 sleeper beds. 6 beds. Then I would say the courtyard, theme park entrance right across the street.
Oh, because of the bunk beds.
Because they have 2 queen beds and a bunk bed. That's 6 people. They also have 2 showers, which is a big deal for getting ready in the morning.
And a great water park.
They have breakfast and Starbucks in the lobby, all of that, and a huge water park. So, but they tend to be a little bit more expensive. So if we're wanting to be a little bit more budget friendly, then we start to get a little bit farther away. The Anaheim Hotel has a few suites, as well as the Element and the Suncoast, which are a little bit farther of a walk, but still doable. I would say we've done that walk several times. We're tired by the time we're done doing the walk, but definitely doable. The Element especially has rooms that will sleep up to 9, which is crazy town. That's so
They're
many.
big rooms, yeah.
Big rooms, and they also have free breakfast.
And they're walkable. I mean, they're a little bit further, but if you've got that many people, most of them are probably teenagers or older. I mean, you're to the point where that walk doesn't seem so awful. You're looking at a solid 15 minutes, I think, in walking at a normal pace from there, don't you think?
Yeah. So those are probably my favorite, like, walkable big family hotels nearby. Is there anything else? There's some that are still considered walkable, but there's something about once you have to cross Catella that starts to make things really far. Yeah. Right across Catella, there's several. There's the Spring Hill Suites. There's the Portofino. There's
Residence
Inn.
Hampton Inn's down there.
Homewood Suites. There's several kind of over in that area.
And they're all lovely. Like, there's none of those that you wouldn't be happy staying at.
This is one of the things that actually you start to see the farther away you get. If amenities are important to you, if having a little bit of a newer hotel or a fancier hotel are important to you, you're going to be farther away. But depends on if that matters to you or not. But again, going back to the baby in the stroller, you really want to be anywhere between the Anaheim Hotel and the Howard Johnson.
Yeah, and there's several good family options there. The Howard Johnson has some bunk bed rooms as well. And we've stayed a lot at the Camelot, the Tropicana, the Grand Legacy.
The Fairfield.
Like, we've done all of those multiple times. They're all comfortable. They all have their pros and cons. They're all going to be a bed to sleep in and a little bit more. None of them are scary or anything. They're all fine. And you really can't get closer. Like, you're shocked when you walk up and you're like, oh, I'm here. This is it. That's as far. So yeah. So that stretch of locations. And one thing we didn't mention is on our website, we actually have in our little Good Neighbor Hotel section, we have sort of put like a little key at the bottom of each one of the hotels that sort of gives indicators. So like one of them is a little walking person, one of them's a swimming pool, one of them's a coffee, one of them's a whatever. And all of those things you can see at the key at the top indicate a certain amenity of some kind. So walking distance, price, there's like little price things so you can kind of get a feel for what range it's in. And you can sort of at a glance determine if a hotel is a yay or a nay for you. But if you're looking for, I would say if someone said, which hotel along Harbor Boulevard would be your number one pick, barring cost, barring whatever, like we'll stay at anywhere, you just tell me, I'd say the Courtyard because it's lovely. And if you're saying what's a more budget friendly, but also offers my family kind of like a fun Disney vibe, I'd maybe go the Hojo, honestly, because they've got like a kid friendly sort of splash park area. They've got the bunk bed rooms. It's pretty recently renovated. The staff is lovely and friendly. They have a lot of kid focused aspects like balloon animals at the front desks and things like that. The rooms are spacious and bright and cheerful. So I feel like that's a really good, solid, like family hotel. And by the way, we have a special code. So if you're ever wanting to book with the Howard Johnson, message us before you do that or go to our website under the Howard Johnson section. And I think you can find that link, but you can save, is it 15% through that code? I think it is 10 or 15 off of your booking price with that corporate code. So take advantage of that.
The other place that I like that's kind of Disney vibey is the Anaheim Hotel. I think it doesn't get as much chatter.
It really doesn't.
Which I'm surprised by. It is one of the original hotels to like the Disneyland area. It has the biggest swimming pool in Anaheim. Yeah. It's like an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Their grounds are lovely. They're fairly newly remodeled. They're got kind of a mid-century modern vibe. It's got a restaurant attached to it. It's got coffee in the morning. There's lots of things about it that are very welcoming and comfortable. So I actually really like the Anaheim. It's typically quite budget friendly as well, which I appreciate.
And you get a little patio. Like all the rooms have a little patio. They've got yard games out in the yard, like in the kind of grounds area for the kids.
They decorate for the
They
holidays.
do,
Cute.
really cute. They also have a pretty big convenience store. Like their little like hotel gift shop area has a lot of like basics and convenient items. So yeah, I feel like they've got a whole package there. And I feel like their parking's not even that bad per night either.
When you book through Getaway Today, a lot of times they have extra perks at various hotels, either extra nights free or free parking or discounted parking or free breakfast in places where it's not always free. So just make sure to go through our links and check those out when you can, because we really want to get you the very best deal on your hotel possible while also getting you as close as possible and that fits your family.
Yep.
I also we've been staying at the Grand Legacy a lot.
It never disappoints.
Never, ever, ever disappoints. No. It's so close. So close. Like, you almost
feel guilty.
Feel like you didn't walk far enough. Yeah. But they also always have free coffee in the morning and popcorn in the afternoon. We always grab a popcorn with our kids in the afternoon when we take a break. They have a fun pool with like kind of a splash pad, 0 entry area too. They have a lot of newly remodeled rooms.
That's the one clincher there, and this goes for the Hojo as well, the Howard Johnson. You have to make sure you're getting a renovated room. If you're choosing a non-renovated space at either of those locations, you're not going to have the experience that we're talking about right now.
Or even the one that we regularly share, because we are always staying in those renovated rooms. So I don't want you to get there and be like, Danny and Britton's room didn't look like our room.
Right. Well, and so sometimes through Getaway Today, some of those more updated spaces or different room types, and this goes not just for renovated spaces, but like larger suites or other things like that, they may not be listed on their regular website. But if you call in, tell them Just Off Harbor sent you and say, Danny and Britton said you can maybe look into getting this 8-person suite that I saw on what's it called's website. Or I heard that I need a renovated room at the Grand Legacy, but I'm only seeing the older style ones or whatever. Call Getaway Today. They will facilitate getting you the best price on that space, and they can call the hotel and see what's available, because sometimes they just don't hold the inventory in certain hotel rooms, but they have access to them. So don't just write it off because you don't see it there and go through the hotel instead. Go through Getaway Today, go through our link, and they will hold your hand through that process and make sure you're still getting the best price.
One of my favorite things about Getaway Today is layaway. If you're trying to plan something long term, it's $200 down, and you can pay over time and save yourself a lot of effort if you feel like you don't have like $1,200 to put down on your room right away. You can pay that over time. And also, because you pay it over time and you pay it off before you get to the park, where if you book direct with the hotel, they charge your credit card when you get there. With all your other vacation expenses in the same credit card statement, it's really nice to have it all paid off ahead of time, to where then you can focus more on your food and your transportation and your other fun things. So that's one thing I really enjoy about Getaway Today.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And again, they will get you the best price. So even if you see a good deal on the hotel website and Getaway Today's price is different, if you call and say, we've done this before. We'll be like, hey, we were looking at booking the Grand Legacy, but it looks like your price is a little higher. They'll match it. You just send like a screenshot of the website page that you're looking at, and they will make sure that you're getting that price. So, and still get the benefits of having booked with their team. So I love that. Okay, so we talked about families with small kids a little bit. Let's talk about families with teenagers, families with elderly people, and also touch a little bit on like adult vacations, because I feel like there's a few hotels, a few hidden gems, particularly for that we could talk about, that people maybe don't have on their radar.
If you are taking a trip with a bunch of teenagers that can easily hop in an Uber or hop on a bus or walk a little farther, there are a few hidden gems around the park around the Anaheim area that we just really, really love. I would say my number one favorite is the Viv. The biggest problem with it is it's across the freeway. So you have to ride the bus, or you have to get an Uber. You don't want to be walking underneath the freeway. It's not safe at night. Or we wouldn't really consider it feeling very comfortable
We
with our
wouldn't do
children.
it.
So, but if it's easy to hop in an Uber or on the bus, it's really, really great. It's a super newly renovated space. There's restaurants inside. There's rooftop pools. There's a fun family pool with splash pad that's gated in. They have bunk beds in their rooms. Really beautiful bathrooms and showers and comfortable beds, like maybe one of the most comfortable places we've slept.
It was nice. They also have like decorate their lobby for the holidays, and the bus actually, unlike all the other art stops that stop sort of like in close proximity to the various hotels, the Viv is one of the only ones that has a contract with the art that puts their shuttle right in front of their lobby. So the art shuttle actually comes right around and parks in front of the lobby right there, and people can get on it and go out, and it has a pretty consistent time schedule that's posted. And so if you are using the art, that's a good reliable location to try it from.
It's basically door-to-door service.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of door-to-door service, the other one that I love is the Hyatt Orange County.
Yes.
We just stayed there recently within the last couple months, and their shuttle service comes about every half hour, back and forth from Disneyland to the front doors of the Hyatt. You aren't walking at all. And it's just for the Hyatt. You're not stopping at other bus stops.
Ooh.
It's direct. It's one of the only hotels in the area that has a direct back and forth. It's a little farther of a drive, but not terrible. And the rooms are newly renovated, a lot of them. They've got delicious restaurants. I'm still dreaming about
the quesadillas.
The quesadillas we got
so good
at one of the restaurants there. They have a Starbucks in the lobby. All of those things that are super helpful for getting out of the park, out to the park quickly in the morning. So.
It's my kids' favorite hotel we've ever stayed at.
Really?
Yes, they have been begging to go back there again.
It's a great hotel. I was really, really happy with it. And we slept really great there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very comfortable.
Lovely. And it used to be an old Disney office building, which I always think is such a fun little like fact about it. Like it makes you sort of feel like you're staying at a Disney property even though you're not. Because you're like, Disney people were here once.
Used to be Disney property.
So yeah, Hyatt definitely high on my list.
So cute.
Yeah. So other ones I would say if you have adults, if you're looking for more of an adult vacation, the Westin is amazing. It's more of a luxury level hotel. It has restaurants on the rooftop. It has club level access if you want to add that to your stay. It's got beautiful views. And
you can watch fireworks from the roof.
Yes.
Or your room, depending on your view.
Mm-hmm. So I love the Westin. It's also very walkable, especially if you plan to go in and out of that DCA section. I mean, it's a little harder to go into DCA from there because you don't have a key. And those properties are technically designated for on-property guests only, but you can always come out of it. And sometimes, especially in the middle of the day and stuff, if you're kind of walking with a group of people that are sort of going in and out, you can kind of slide in.
You can kind of enter at least into the Grand, if not through that lower Pixar gate. Mm-hmm. Go into the Grand Californian and enter that way as well. Or go over to Disneyland through the Grand Californian if you're going to Disneyland.
Right. The only time that can be tricky is sometimes they have security in the mornings. They don't really want hordes of people from all those hotels along Catella coming through the Grand Californian to enter through that security. So in the morning, if you're at the Westin, you have to either like Uber over to the harbor side or plan to kind of walk over to the Disneyland Hotel entrance side, the downtown Disney side. But the rest of the day, I feel like we've never been stopped. Like we've never been questioned by anyone at any point, not at rope drop, of why we're entering through the Grand Californian lobby or whatever.
Which, if you like that site as well, we stayed at the Best Western Stovall's not too long ago, about 6 months ago, and they have free breakfast. They have newly renovated rooms. Their grounds are really fun. They've got those topiaries that are like 60 years old.
Yeah, it's cool.
They're very, very fun.
It's a great family-friendly spot.
Super family-friendly. So it's a great place to go if you have teenagers and you want to feed them before you head in. Mm-hmm. And you've got that quick access.
Yeah, well, and that walk, because it is kind of still... Even though Catella is set kind of far back from, I mean, it's further than Harbor, but because it sort of crosses with the road that Pixar Place and Grand Californian and stuff is on, it's well lit, it's well taken care of, it feels safe. Like, I feel like that's a pretty safe walkway back and forth in and out of that side of the property. So you don't have to I wouldn't feel nervous about a couple of teenagers making that walk out of DCA at night.
Which is something to consider if you ever are going with teenagers and you think they're going to want to hang longer than you and you want them to be able to stay in the park longer. We say that teenagers can go on farther away hotels, but if that's something that's going to be part of your trip is mom and dad are going back to the hotel and the kids are staying till midnight in the park, maybe consider being right across the street as well. Because not that I've ever really felt unsafe at Disneyland overall, but you really want them to feel like they are with crowds and with people. And the farther away you get, the more people have
kind of drop off
hotels and there's fewer people. And,
Yep. And then, so that's great. Stovall's is, I would call very like budget friendly, family friendly. Weston is the polar opposite. I mean, it's still family friendly, but it's more expensive. However, Getaway Today does offer, I think it's 5th night free on that hotel, which I've priced it out a few times for hypothetical vacations with my family, and it's really not that bad per night once you break it all down, especially for the fact that it's like a more high-end location.
Hotel.
Yeah. So there's that, and then you've got the Viv, which Britton mentioned. I really like the Suncoast, which is on the other side, like the Disneyland side of the freeway.
So it is
by the
walkable.
Viv.
You don't have to worry about
and we've walked it plenty. Yeah.
So Suncoast and Element, they're right next to each other. They have different things. Element has breakfast. Suncoast doesn't. Suncoast's pool is really fun. They're just a little bit different. Their costs are a little bit different. Another one that people really super love for families and teens or anything is the Cambria, which is somewhere we haven't actually stayed.
We've never even stepped foot in there. I don't know how this is possible.
I don't know either. I don't want to vouch for something we haven't seen, but everybody we know has been there. We know people who have stayed and loved it. It's very budget friendly. It has breakfast. It has a
big water park,
and you can walk to the Toy Story shuttle parking lot from it very quickly and then ride that shuttle in. So it's one that's farther away. You see it on the map and you're like, ooh, but it's not bad.
No, not if you go hop the Toy Story shuttle. The other one that's similar is the JW Marriott. I mean, not similar in style,
distance,
but similar in distance. And we have walked from the JW Marriott over to the Toy Story lot, and it's not bad at all. And the JW, I would say again, is more of an adult stay. You could stay there with your family, but it is definitely more on the luxury high-end side. It's a gorgeous property, and they have like soaker bathtubs in all the rooms, and that's nice. A rooftop garden. It's really pretty. So
yeah,
JW is a great spot too. So did we cover, I feel like we've at least mentioned at this point most of the ones in the vicinity that we have felt comfortable with. One more actually though that I do want to mention, and this is not a Getaway Today property, but the California Inn. We stayed there last Christmas, Britton and I did. We didn't take our kids to that one, and it's definitely, you either have to drive or Uber because you can't really walk it. You have to go up over the freeway, and it's a little in kind of like a sketchier
and it's
section.
Quite dark going up over the freeway, especially if you're going at night. A lot of people I do know that have stayed there will walk in the morning and feel comfortable walking in because you kind of join a bunch of people that are coming from those areas, from like the Majestic Garden and all of those kind of areas. So you don't feel quite as like alone, but at night I would always make sure that you're planning to Uber back. But they have bunk beds. They have very newly renovated rooms. They had snacks in the hotel room.
That was nice.
Every day.
They had
the
nice
shower
showers.
was really nice. And good pressure and hot water.
I don't think they have a pool.
I don't think so either.
So,
it's a very small motel style.
Yeah,
I think it only has about 30 rooms.
Yeah, it's small, but the owners are lovely. You feel it's sort of like off the road. Like you sort of go back on a little driveway and it's sort of like in a little covey area. And so you feel a little more isolated, but in a good way. Like you don't feel like there's foot traffic walking past you, like some of those ones along Harbor. So I did like that. And you can see fireworks from the parking lot pretty well if you want to hop out there and watch fireworks from kind of the backside of the park. So I would definitely stay at the California Inn again. And again, that's not one you can book through Getaway Today because they're just more privately owned little mom and pop type location. But definitely look
very budget friendly
Mhm.
and comfortable.
Yep. So, and each room is themed a little bit different. It's almost like staying in someone's house or like in an Airbnb or
It's
something.
a boutique
because
hotel.
every hotel the room is like a little bit different theme, and they've got like cute little Frigidaire
Like-
fridges instead of the like standard motel fridges. It's more of a experience. So I like that one.
For sure. I think those are our favorites overall. Obviously, feel free to message us about anything. Our website has a blurb about each of the hotels that we've stayed at recently, and we can always answer questions about how far it is. This is one of the things that we always felt like after we took our very first trip. We've said this before, where if we just had more of a lay of the land on our first trip, we would have done it so much better. And so we really want to help you have a lay of the land, feel comfortable of how far am I walking? If I book this hotel, am I going to regret it? It looked like it was close on the map, but it was actually not,
Yeah.
So,
Well, some of those backside hotels, like they look like they're across the street from Disneyland, but there's no entrance to Disneyland until you get almost all the way around the whole park. So sometimes proximity in miles does not equate to access, like foot access. And that's one of the big clinchers there. So
again, if you're ever trying to price something out, trying to figure out what's your best deal, feel free to message us. We're happy to help answer questions about your particular family demographic and all of that. We want you to have the best trip and feel like you are somewhere safe and comfortable and is within your budget and all of those things.
Yep. But when in doubt, if you book something along Harbor Boulevard there, you will not make a mistake. That's like the takeaway for me is like,
but there's
you can't go wrong along there.
Harbor Boulevard is a long road. So don't just assume because the address says Harbor.
No, Harbor Boulevard between the freeway where Howard Johnson is and Disney Way where the Anaheim Hotel is on the corner. Any of those, no matter what you pick, you're not going to have a bad experience and you're going to feel like you know how to get to and from the park and do Disney the way that you need to. That's like my beginner tip. And the other ones, there's lots of, like we said, hidden gems as you spread out a little bit. But when in doubt, just know that you can feel confident about those choices. Right?
Yep.
Amen.
Hallelujah.